and Philadelphia has it.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to DSM Pregame Live, streaming to you here exclusively on DSM Media's YouTube channel. If you guys are new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button, like this video, turn on notifications for whenever we are live here on the page. I am one half of your host, Dylan Davis. You can find me on Twitter at DylanJD98. To my right, my co-host, Scotty. You can find him as well at Scotty Drown. Don't forget, you can find DSM as a whole at DSM_media on the Twitter account. My man, Sixers coming off the biggest win of the season. That's what I'm calling it. Is the biggest win of their season. They are 3-3 out of the All-Star break with a matchup tonight in Indiana to take on Tyrese Haliburton and the Pacers. How are you feeling after this weekend of basketball?
Yeah, man. So you went into the weekend right after the Dallas loss, and it was a weird feel. I wasn't as over exaggerating as everybody else was about that loss. I thought that was kind of just an outlier. Two guys score 82 points. The team hits 25 threes. I'm throwing that game out. Yeah, it was the biggest win of the season, man. And it started out rocky. Obviously, they end up down 18 at one point. I have to sit there and watch my man Grayson Allen. I know everybody hates Grayson Allen, but you see the cat, man. That's my guy. But he does some dumb stuff time to time, and of course he had to hit 6 threes in one quarter in this game, which just adds to the BS that the Sixers have played against the last few games. But nonetheless, it was a huge win, man. You saw these guys' backs against the wall once again, didn't give up. Phil Stifle, Beard of Knowledge, he put a tweet out during the game that he would sit and beat and Harden the rest of the game from third quarter on. I knew that was definitely not going to happen. That was definitely not
why
the right
you never overreact mid-game.
You got to let it ride. You got to let it ride. They did. And I even overreacted a bit in that game because I talked about George Niang. I had to retract my words because George Niang saved us in that game. And that is ultimately why you do have to keep giving him a shot in the lineup because you just never know when he's going to explode for a three-point shootout like that. So all the cards were on the table.
There he is.
Injuries, right?
Yeah,
everything.
Yeah, Beard. Yeah. Yeah.
It did. I'm not going to argue with that, Phil. It did work ultimately. I also reverse jinxed it. I picked the Bucks to win in the pregame show. So I went in with the reverse jinx as well. It worked all the way around, if you ask me.
I look at this game from Saturday night, and you mentioned it, right? Down 18 in the third quarter in Milwaukee. They're on a 16-game winning streak. Tobias goes down. PJ goes down. You're -2 starters. And then it's just built back off the back of James Harden, Joel Embiid, 20-point fourth quarter from the Beard, right? 48 points scored as a team for the Sixers on the road. And it just makes me sit back and laugh because it's like, wow, other teams blow big leads. That's crazy. That's the thing. Right? Apparently the Delaware Valley and the Philadelphia, we don't get that message. We don't realize that teams blow leads. Oh, the Boston Celtics did it last night. Oh, the Boston Celtics did it against the Brooklyn Nets a week ago. It happens. And for once, not for once, but for the 76ers to come back in that manner, in that fashion, was the biggest. It was just the biggest moment of the entire year because it gives not only me, who believes more so in this team than others, more confidence. It probably instilled some confidence in those that were hesitant to give it to the Sixers. I come away from that game with this thought, Scotty. This Sixers team in this moment reminds me so much of late August, early September Philadelphia Phillies of last year. Because so often I had to come on pregame shows. So often I would be on Trending in the AM or Faithful Fanatic Show, wherever I was on here, live with you guys. And I would have to lay out for people because all I would get was messages about they don't beat anybody. They only beat up on the bad teams, blah, blah. And I'd have to explain. Beat up on the Dodgers, beat up on the Padres, beat up on the Cardinals, even with the Braves, etc. The only team they couldn't get over was the Mets. What do the Sixers got going on right now? They beat Milwaukee multiple times. Beat up on Memphis or came back against Memphis.
Yep.
Beat up on Jokic in Denver. They've beaten the Cavs. They've beaten the Knicks. They've beaten the Clippers. They've beaten the Lakers. They've beaten everybody except the Celtics, who are arguably the best team in the association. It's like people are so scared to get hurt because of past experiences, right? No one wanted to buy in that the Phillies were this talented, that the Phillies were this good because of the previous 9 to 11 years. No one wants to buy in that this is the best Sixers team. Yes, I'm saying it. This is the best Sixers team that Joel Embiid has been a part of. No one wants to accept it because of the second round collapses the last couple of years. This team's different, man. And Saturday only made me believe in that sentiment more.
It's like my camera's getting worse. Wipe it off there.
You're good, man. Don't worry about it.
There we go. All right. No, I tend to agree with you, man. This team is as good as they want to be, honestly. When they put their mind to it, you see it. Some of these games are starting out slow, but I was just going through some of the recent games and looking at, the losses, and there hasn't been that many losses in there. But you go back, right? Last game, obviously a win. You lose to the Mavericks, you lose by 7. You lose to the Heat, you lose by 2. You lose to the Celtics, you lose by 3. Then all the way before that, it comes before the All-Star break. Their last loss was also against the Celtics. They lost by 7. So, the point I'm getting at is that this Sixers team doesn't get blown out ever, right? It doesn't seem to happen very often, if at all. Every game that they're losing is to good teams of late. And it's really close. They're keeping these games close. And in this game, they're down 18. Against the Mavs, they're down 25. I think that just shows you the difference in the Sixers team. They're not going to lay down and die. Things not going your way, Giannis getting every call as he goes to the rack. These are things that used to make the Sixers lay down and die. Losing a rebounding battle, losing the three-point battle. Oh, my God, they won't stop hitting threes. Let's just give up. It would have been so easy for the Sixers to go out and give up after Grayson Allen hit 6 threes.
Not just that, after losing 2 starters.
After losing 2 starters on top of it, yeah, that's another thing, right? And you gotta give some props to George Niang and Jalen McDaniel, who ultimately filled in for those 2 guys. Jalen McDaniel with, big buckets, right?
Yeah,
he only had 8 points in that game, but that putback dunk is something that
dunk.
we haven't seen that in years, it feels like, right? Who else is doing putback dunks on this team? So that was a nice surprise. He also hits a 3 in that game. George Niang obviously hit 5 or 6. So guys really stepped up in this game. And it's one of these wins. It's a signature win that really exemplifies why this Sixers team is very different from past Sixers teams, because that's all that everybody's been talking about all season, right? The second round failures and why this team
Scotty
resembles that team from this year. No, this team most closely resembles the team with Jimmy Butler, right? Where we thought that team could really win a championship, even all the way back to Allen Iverson. This team is better than that team. And they went to the NBA Finals. So, I get your point. This is the best team that Embiid has played with. It's also the best team since they went to the finals in reality. Yeah. And I know we've kind of said that in a sense the last couple of years, but it's true. It is true. The talent is there, and we're finally seeing it come to fruition.
Scotty, they are an excellent team. And they're no longer just in the conversation, right? Because at the end of the day, we just want to be in the conversation in terms of title contention. If you're in the conversation, you have a chance. They're not just in the conversation. They're almost leading the conversation. There is one definitive team that I will put over the 76ers at this moment. That is the Boston Celtics, because they have not proven to me yet that they can beat them. They can compete with them. They can hang with them. They have not finished the job yet. So until I see them, I cannot definitively pick the Sixers to get that job done. I saw a very interesting stat yesterday. So everyone says, right, even mid-game, no, not you, Phil, but other people, I'm on Twitter, and at halftime, it's if there's one thing I learned, it's that the Sixers cannot take this Bucks team in a 7-game series. That's interesting, because going back to the beginning of the 2021 season, the Sixers and the Bucks head-to-head are dead even, and with the point differential being 1 point in Philadelphia's favor. Are the Bucks not considered at the top of this conversation?
Yeah.
Right. So I look back at that game and I say, Okay, Tyrese Maxey, we're going to get in that conversation probably in like 5 minutes or so, might be officially back in the starting role because of how great he has looked and how big he was in Milwaukee in that position. There's a difference maker to me, man. And it's been all season, but post All-Star break, James Harden is averaging almost 27 points per game since the All-Star break, just under 10 assists, over 5.5, 6 rebounds per game. Scotty, that game Saturday night was the closest replication that I've seen of Houston James Harden in a very long time. We're not just talking hitting clutch shots. We're talking hitting parking lot threes over and over and over in a 20-point fourth quarter. When was the last time we've seen something like that from James Harden? And then not just that, to have the basketball IQ to know that with 45 seconds left down, no matter how spectacular I have been in mounting this comeback, I'm going to make the right play and I'm going to feed the big fella at the top of the key because they're collapsing on me. And he kicks it right out to Joel for ultimately the game-winning bucket. Obviously, stuff happened after that, but that's what propelled them to the lead, right? James Harden, Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, I cannot say enough about what they did Saturday. Biggest one of the season. This team is damn good. If you're not on board, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, it's as simple as that. And you look at the numbers in this game. If those three guys, Maxey, Embiid, and Harden, if they play at this level, and maybe it's, oh yeah, I agree. I'm in the camp where if you have one MVP candidate, then I can't put another guy on the same team in that conversation because that just doesn't make sense to me. But in reality, I guess you would have to pick your poison between Embiid and Harden, who is the real MVP of this team right now. Because Harden's he's just been making the difference, making plays, right? We've even seen him against Memphis specifically. He's on the floor making a diving rebound attempt to get the pass out in front of Embiid to close that game out. So he's just making winning plays on top of filling the stat sheet. But if Harden, Embiid, and Maxey can play at this level, the sky's the limit, right? They can win an NBA championship at this level, and it doesn't even matter what Tobias Harris does, right? If Maxey is scoring 20-plus points a night, everything else is just fill-in. Niang, Melton, so on and so forth. As far as the other guys filling in here, it's an exciting time, and I think this win had to have opened your eyes. If you're not going to believe it, you're just not going to believe it at this point, right? That this is a really good team. It's all barring health. They need to stay healthy, of course, but this team has a chance to go far, man. And this was by far the biggest win of the season to see them go head to head with Milwaukee, right? 110%. And to your point, what you brought up about the Boston Celtics earlier, it's all about matchups, right? And maybe the Boston Celtics, maybe they are just a really bad matchup for the Sixers, although we have played them close in several games that we matched up with them. But you look at the Knicks, for instance, they're 3-0 against Boston, right? So I think that's another thing that kind of you look at every matchup and we always go, well, this team beat this team, so they're better than this team. Yep. It's not the case, right? If the Knicks have beat the Celtics 3 times this season, but the Celtics have beat the Sixers 3 times this season, it's all matchup based. So that's just another great point I thought you brought up there. Every team is beatable depending on who they play, and it just depends on matchups throughout the playoffs, right?
That's why it's so reminiscent of this past Philly season. Now, the New York Mets historically, and especially as of late, and the Boston Celtics do not have the same mental makeup, right? Like Boston isn't known to collapse every year in the postseason like the Mets are. But all I heard this past summer was that they cannot beat the Mets. So what does all this matter? The Mets weren't a roadblock for the Phillies.
Exactly.
So like different things can happen. You just mentioned what New York has done. Do I think that the Knicks beats the Celtics in a 7-game series? Probably not. No, but they're 3-0 against them this year. So you never freaking know, right?
Yeah.
The last thing I guess I'll say before we move on, man, is my question to those fans that still want to be negative. What more do you want? What else do you need to see?
What can they do, right? What else?
Because all I keep hearing, all I keep seeing on Twitter is, oh, well, they'll lose to Indiana tonight. Maybe. Who cares? Who cares if they drop an L, if they drop a bad loss to Indiana tonight? All you have wanted to see is them compete against the upper echelon of the East. They're doing that. So I'm not saying they lose tonight. It'll be a bad loss if they lose tonight. But that shouldn't mean that, oh, well, now Saturday doesn't count. No, that's not the thing. That's not a case. So
we've seen them go through the gauntlet over the last week, and I don't know how you can come out of that 6-game span even and not feel accomplished. I mean, these are 6 of the top, well, 5. I know we played Miami twice, so 5 of the top teams in the NBA right now. We saw what the Mavericks did, right? They took the Phoenix Suns, who everybody's crowned in the West. They took them to the wire in a game, right? So that wasn't a bad loss on the road against the Mavericks, who, mind you,
the Lakers
we're not going to play the Mavericks, right? Like, unless the Mavericks make it to the finals, we won't see them in the playoffs. We see them twice a year anyways. It's just not that big of a deal. It is a bad matchup with 2 guards like that, but you look across the board and ask yourself, who can't the Sixers match up with? Who that the Sixers would play in the playoffs would they not have at least a puncher's chance against? And I don't think there's a team in the NBA.
A puncher's chance, nobody.
Yeah.
I would take it a step further. Who in the playoffs would the Sixers
not be
favorites against? I'll give you one team, the Boston Celtics.
Yeah.
I'm favoring the Sixers against Milwaukee. I think you mentioned the biggest point a couple seconds ago. Matchups. Matchups make fights, man. And so far this year, it's proven to me that the Sixers have a good matchup against the Milwaukee Bucks. It's that simple to me, man. But it's going to be an interesting stretch. What do we have left? Like under 20 games, right? I think the season ends like early April.
19 more
we
games.
have like another month of regular season left before we finally get to the postseason. So it's going to be an interesting finish, man. But let's keep it rolling with our matchup tonight. I know that recap took a little longer than we would have expected to on a normal game-to-game basis, but it was just that big of a moment. It was just that big of a game for the Sixers. So let's move on. They continue their road stand tonight against the Indiana Pacers. Indiana's 18-15 at home. The Sixers are 17-12 on the road. The Sixers come in at 7-point favorites right now. The public 64% is on the Sixers minus those 7 points. Tobias Harris and PJ Tucker, I believe most likely are both out, correct? They're day-to-day. And Miles Turner for Indiana is day-to-day on my injury report that I could see right here.
Yeah.
But initial thoughts coming into this matchup, obviously we saw Tyrese Halliburton kind of bury the Chicago Bulls actually just yesterday. So this is the second half of a back-to-back for Indiana. So initial thoughts, initial glance at this one.
So just first thoughts, just off what you said there, I would most likely sit Tobias and PJ tonight. I don't see the reason why we would force them to go out and play tonight if they're any type of beat up. Just don't even risk it, because quite honestly, I would like to see some more Jalen McDaniels with working with those starters, get him implemented, get him some more playing time. And once again, this is a team, no disrespect to the Pacers, you should be able to beat them in this situation while giving Tobias Harris and PJ Tucker a rest. It's not James Harden and Joel Embiid, right? So you should be able to win this game without them ultimately. That's the first thing I would say. The second thing I would say, maybe not even about the Pacers, but just this upcoming stretch. You just came out of a very heated stretch, right? Mind you, tomorrow you have a back-to-back against the Minnesota Timberwolves, which they're in the playoff mix for the Western Conference. But after that, you get the Blazers and the Wizards before you would take on the Cavs in Cleveland again, which I would say would be your next Eastern Conference
big matchup,
contender opponent, right? So take advantage of these next 3 to 4 games. Try to get a 3-1 record in these. And just taking advantage of your opponents. But the first thing that I'm looking at in this game tonight specifically, I'm looking at controlling the pace, because as long as Tyrese Halliburton is playing, I know he's questionable as well. It's a back-to-back. I don't know. It's a calf injury. I don't know how cautious they're going to be. How much do they want to get into that play-in, because they're one spot out of it right now. Nonetheless, controlling the pace is a huge thing for me. The Pacers are 8th in the NBA in pace, while the Sixers are 26, close to the bottom of the league. So turnovers, that's going to be a huge thing, as it always is, but especially tonight against a team that can get out on the break, a guy like Tyrese Halliburton that can get up the court quick, can get the ball to open guys. You want to make sure you can control that pace, and in return, you may be able to control Tyrese Halliburton, not let him take over this game. How can the Pacers win this game, Dylan? Tyrese Halliburton take over the game and have a monster night, right? So don't let that happen. Control the pace, control the turnovers. And I think that's going to be a big key here.
Dude, that's literally my main point for tonight is pace of play. And the Sixers are just such an interesting team night to night because they can beat you multiple ways. They can get out and run. Tyrese Maxey is one of the quickest players in the association, right? There's times where Harden wants to get out and transition and look for shooters on the wings, right? But you also have a 7-foot anchor that wants to take 23 of 24 seconds off the shot clock and beat you up down low, right? So, and play a lot of isolation ball. So when I'm looking at this matchup tonight and the Pacers, how can Indiana hang around with a Sixers team? They're going to need to get a bunch of shots off, and they're going to need to play up tempo to get those shots off and look to move in transition. Make them play to your style, dictate the pace, control the floor. And I think the Sixers will be able to do that tonight. The Pacers are not a team that should dominate the Sixers on the glass, especially if Miles Turner is out tonight for them as well. We've seen in the past Joel kind of feast on Miles Turner anyway, so that shouldn't be a problem. But in terms of rebounding, we know how the Sixers can be lackadaisical. And if you're missing your 3 and 4 starters, you're going to take a hit size-wise tonight from that perspective. So that is my number one key to victory tonight. My number one thing, control the pace of the game. And then secondly, look to continue shooting well from 3, man. Look for James Harden, Tyrese Maxey, D'Anthony Melton, George Niang having a bounce-back game, hitting 5 or 6 threes. Look for those guys to heat up because that's how Indiana is going to try to beat you, right? They're going to try to beat you with threes instead of Embiid 2. So I'm looking for the Sixers to shoot well from 3 tonight. You had a night off last night during travel. So, yeah, man, I'm not going to sit here in front and act like this is some difficult matchup and try to figure out how the Sixers need to win. It's
very straightforward.
They're a better team.
Yeah, they're the better team. And I like your point about the 3-pointers and just shooting well because they were able to win that battle against Milwaukee on Saturday, which kind of proved to be the difference. They hit one more 3 and they won by 3 points. So that just shows you how close it really can be. The last key to victory I would throw in there, and it kind of is to your last point there. This isn't some overbearing matchup. This isn't the big juggernaut matchups that you've been having of late, but I think that's even more of a reason not to fall asleep tonight. Don't lose focus against the Pacers and drop one tonight. When you have an advantage, right? You have an opportunity because the Celtics do play the Cleveland Cavaliers tonight on the tail end of their back-to-back.
No Horford, no Tatum, no
That's
Williams.
a chance for us to jump up or catch a little bit of help there and move up closer to that 2 seed, which at the end of the day, you would like to see them move up if they can. So my biggest thing to end here, start fast, right? You have a back-to-back yourself tomorrow against Minnesota. So if there's any chance that you can get some guys, even if it's 3 to 4 minutes at the end of the game that they get to come out early, let's take advantage of that and get them out of the game early so they can get ready for Minnesota tomorrow on national television, right? But as you want to keep up with Boston and Milwaukee, if you want to make it close, you want to get up into the top 2 seeds, you got to win these games especially.
I agree, man. And I think that's a very important thing to note because earlier in the show, I'd said, who cares if they lose tonight? And what I was basing that off of is saying, like, if they lose tonight, that does not take away or negate what they were able to accomplish or your confidence that you gathered from Saturday night's win in Milwaukee. However, if you're the Sixers, if you're still trying to get the fans' attention, if you're still trying to build confidence, not only in your fan base, but within yourself, you do want to go out and take control of a game like this tonight. You have a back-to-back tomorrow. I understand that. This is the second half of a back-to-back for these Indiana Pacers, in which it took a last-second Tyrese Halliburton 3 to beat the Chicago Bulls, who, mind you, not very good this year, right? So the 76ers should come out. I know it's on the road. They play well on the road, right? Missing 2 starters. You proved to me that you can play without those starters in the second half of last game. You've proven to me all year you could play missing guys, right? I'm looking for Tyrese Maxey, James Harden, Joel Embiid. I think the most important thing to note, maybe not even a key, maybe this is kind of our goal of the game, play with energy, play with focus, right? I know you're coming off of a major high, right? And you're probably not all the way up. You're not excited to play in Indiana tonight. You don't even want to be in Indiana, right? You're missing 2 of your guys, two of your teammates. Show up tonight. Show that effort tonight. If you get beat,
early.
if something goes weird, they shoot the lights out from 3, whatever the case is. No shoulder shrugging, no. Show up tonight and show up early, as you mentioned.
Yeah. I think just piling on what you've been able to do. Don't diminish it by losing to Indiana tonight.
What did we used to say about Jalen Hurts in the beginning of this year and training camp? Stack positive days, positive moments.
Exactly.
Start to stack and build off of that Milwaukee win.
And that's what it's all about, because you just have to be consistent. That's what this is all about, building consistent positive tendencies. And ultimately, the more you do that, the more you'll get the fans to buy in as well. If you're not buying in yet, like I said, I don't know that you will until the playoffs. But nonetheless, this is another step that you can take in the right direction. No need to drop one tonight. There's just no reason, right? Take advantage of your opportunity here. This is what we would call an easy one compared to the last 5 or 6 that they played. So take advantage tonight on the road, man. Early.
Yeah, that's a great point. Take advantage of that little blip in the radar, right? Take advantage.
Yeah, it's good.
We know how grueling and tough this second half schedule is.
3 to 4 game stretch right now, and then you get right back into the juggernauts, right?
Exactly. So it's not time off. It's time to pick up some W's, because you're going to drop somewhere else along the way in the final 20 or so down the home stretch. So really not important, but it would be nice to see them come out with that energy and really put away an Indiana team, because then it's like
cover that spread, right?
You know what it would show me? They're focused. They're laser focused, because they're not taking their foot off the gas pedal after Saturday night. They're ready to keep rolling, missing Tobias, missing PJ, these leaders. They're ready to keep going.
That's exactly, that's the exact point that I was getting at, the focus, right? Because you don't want to get into this mindset, well, we beat the Bucks, so like we're good for a little bit, right? Like, no, you want to keep building on that.
Yep. No, I 100% agree, man. Anything else you have key-wise, goal-wise that you're looking at before we get into best bets and predictions?
I would actually just say, Doc Rivers, be creative tonight. If you want to try some different things, tonight is the night to do that. Obviously, no PJ, no Tobias. We're saying no PJ, no Tobias. That's just because we're assuming that would be the smart decision. No PJ, no Tobias. Try some different lineups tonight. It's the perfect time to do it, right?
Maybe have to imagine
some McDaniels at the 4, see what that looks like. Run some McDaniels at the 3, see what that looks like.
You know what? I'm going to
get House some minutes,
because you would have to imagine that
it's been
the lineup's up, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So they're both out. Let's see. Melton, McDaniels, Embiid, Maxey, Harden. So 3 guards. McDaniels playing the 4, so they're going a little small. But in terms of athleticism, in terms of getting out and transit, I'm interested to see what this lineup looks like, man. Because it's actually a lineup that you've probably thrown out there that we mentioned on pregame shows about getting McDaniels on the floor in the middle of these guys, right?
Yeah, because it's not something where, we always – I feel like I always tread lightly with Tobias Harris. It's just something I've wondered, right? What does the starting lineup look like with Jalen McDaniels at that 3 spot, whether that's having Tobias at the 4 or having PJ at the 4? I just wonder what having that type of length in the starting lineup is like. But at the 4 tonight, that's something else I'm interested to see, because there may be nights where, hey, Niang can't play tonight, right? You need to throw McDaniels in there at the 4 in his spot. Maybe it's a more athletic team you're playing, and that's a good option to just have in your back pocket. But I like to see that starting lineup, because that's exactly what I'm talking about. Be versatile tonight. Try some different things.
I'm with you, man. All right, let's get to our best bets of the night. Yes, we do have some enemy territory in here in the middle of it all, but we're just trying to win some money, my man. So best bets for tonight's Pacers Sixers matchup at the top. First of all, if you're noticing a trend here, we're looking at sharing the basketball tonight, right? Joel Embiid coming off of that. What did he finish with on Saturday?
10 assists, man.
10 assist night. Listen, man, obviously I'm expecting a drop. I'm not expecting no 7 or 8 assists drop tonight. You're missing 2 guys that can contribute and spread the ball around. Joel Embiid over 3.5 assists, minus 140. You're going to have to eat a little bit of juice, but I do like that prop tonight in Indiana. Look for those shooters surrounding them, especially with the 3-guard lineup and McDaniels. Look for him to kick out of the paint tonight against Indiana. Secondly, staying with the assist, Tyrese Halliburton over 8.5 at minus 145. Again, eating some juice, but he is the motor, right? He is the engine of this Indiana Pacers train. Yes, he's going to score it. Yes, he's going to get his threes up. He's also going to share the rock. He's right around I wouldn't put him in James Harden level and James Harden territory, but Tyrese Halliburton is easily a 9.5 to a 11 assist kind of guy.
Yeah.
So
He averages
Halliburton
10.2 on the season.
There
Had
you
11
go.
last
So
night.
there you go. So
Second,
Tyrese
right
at
behind
least
Harden,
9
actually.
assists tonight against the Sixers, and then sticking with the beard, man. Again,
Yeah.
and I like these bets because it almost puts our faith in the fact that they're going to be focused tonight. James Harden is coming off the best game he's had in a 76ers uniform. Yes, that's what I'm calling. Maybe best quarter, best game, whatever you want to call it, right?
Whatever you want to call
Over
it, yeah.
39.5 points, rebounds, and assists at -115. He's since the All-Star break, he is averaging 27 points per game, 9.2 assists per game, and over 5 rebounds per game. Guess what, guys? That hits that mark. So if James Harden just gives you what he averages, maybe a little less than what he averages in all stat categories, he's hitting this total of 40 points, rebounds, assists tonight. I want to see James Harden continue to stack that confidence tonight against the Pacers.
Yep, and it's one of those things, right, where you don't have Tobias there, right? So maybe these guys do have to do a little bit more, right? Harden and Embiid, they might have to run the offense a little bit more with those two guys missed, and 2 starters nonetheless. But yeah, I like all of these props. The Halliburton one is interesting. He averages more than that anyways, right? He had 11 last night. And I think if anything, the Sixers are going to pin him down. I know we were going through it before the game, threes. We were looking at rebounds. We were looking at assists. I think that's one thing the Sixers could pin down on defense today is Tyrese Halliburton and scoring the basketball. So I like him to give it up and share the rock a little bit. Share the rock. Tonight. And like you said, they're going to have to get shots up. Like they're going to have to get threes up. That means him creating for Buddy Hield, for Benedict.
Who's the leader of playing with that pace, right? Not that we want to see this happen.
You don't want to
see Indiana get out transition.
Do something well tonight. He's a good player. He's going to do something well tonight.
The Sixers aren't going to beat them 120 to 76. Okay, so they're going to score from somewhere. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. So if Halliburton could just get 9 assists, we would greatly kind of appreciate it.
Yeah,
while he takes this out. With that
said, I want to see Embiid keep on that. That's something we talked about. Yeah. It's so revelational for me, man, because it's something we talked about. I don't know if it was earlier on this season. I think it was the first time we played the Bucks, actually, and we talked about how Giannis, and when he attacks, he does always have his head up and willing to get his teammates involved in the game. And it's like my man Embiid has like gotten there just this season on being able to do that in a better manner. And I just want to see him to continue to keep his eyes open for his teammates. Obviously, we want him to get his buckets. That's what he's best at.
He's going to.
But that's always going to draw a ton of attention. You're going to get guys wide open. We see Niang's got the hot hand again, so maybe he can get a couple assists just off double teams to Niang tonight.
Absolutely, man. Continue to build that confidence. Go out, play with focus, play with energy right off the jump, and let's get this win.
What's your prediction? Win?
Yeah, I'm going with the W tonight. Tomorrow's a little iffy for me. Second half of back-to-back. I wouldn't be surprised if there's no Joel tomorrow.
Yeah.
In Minnesota, like you said, they're fighting for a playoff spot out west. Anthony Edwards is a stud. They could drop tomorrow night's game. Tonight's the one I want to see them go out and dominate full force. And, hey, if you're still without PJ and Tobias tomorrow night, and you want to give Joel some rest, I'm probably saying F it and resting him tomorrow with those 3 guys.
Yeah.
And we'll take our lump tomorrow, right? But tonight, go out and Embiid, Harden, Maxey, full force, get this win tonight. In terms of star of the game, this is interesting, man. I got to go with the beard. I got to stick with him. What's going on, Abe? I got to go with the man that really started and mounted that major comeback in the fourth quarter against Milwaukee. And I say that because there's been so much conversation, so many articles, so many rumors and leaks about this offseason and what he plans to do and what he wants to do, right? You know what I saw as those 2 walked off the floor against Milwaukee? 2 guys that are loving playing together. And I want to continue to see that focus and that easiness of the 2-man game between the 2, because that's what it's looking like nowadays, man. It's easy for them 2 to play together right now. I'm going with James Harden. I'm going with the Sixers win.
It was so fun to see that at the end of the game the other night, because you heard, I can't remember. I think it was Malika Andrews that was interviewing him, and she dropped the stat that they were like the first teammates to have 30 and 10 assists, 30 points and 10 assists between both of them, right? Harden had 38 and 10, and Embiid had 31 and 10. So they looked at each other when she said that, and they were like, oh, shit. Like, they didn't even know. They're just out there having fun. So it just shows you, like, Harden's not over there in the third quarter, like, checking out his stats, seeing what he's got tonight.
Right.
Like, oh, I got to take more shots in the fourth. They don't care. They're just playing.
You mean like a certain someone that played for the Milwaukee Bucks last night?
I had to throw a little bit of shade because it was very odd to see Giannis doing that against the Washington Wizards.
Odd behavior, bro.
Odd behavior.
Odd behavior.
So it's good to know that the Sixers aren't thinking like that. They're not even paying attention to the numbers that they got. They're just going out there and playing and trying to win, and that's what you want to see. I got the Sixers winning tonight. I'm with you. I think it stays close for the most part. They pull away at the end and maybe get that.
Both games against Indiana and Philly were close. One went to overtime.
Yeah, that is fair. That is fair as well. So we'll see how it goes. I do have the Sixers winning nonetheless. And I'm gonna go with a little bit of an X factor here rather than a star. I'm gonna go with Jalen McDaniels in that starting lineup. I'm looking for him to earn himself some more minutes tonight by playing really well. I'm looking for 10 plus points.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I want to throw out a bold prediction for you. Yeah. Jalen McDaniels, 12 plus points tonight.
I like it, man. Honestly, Dylan, he could get that off dunks playing with Harden. Yeah. I really believe that with his long ass arms. So I actually like it. So yeah, I'm looking for 10, 12 points, about 5 rebounds. Any way you can contribute there, and maybe he hits a 3 tonight as well, just to show that floor spacing.
I'm with it, man. I like the pick, and obviously we're both going with the Sixers win tonight, guys. We will be back with you right here on DSM Media's YouTube channel tomorrow night, same time, getting you ready for Sixers, T-Wolves, and recapping this Pacers game, hopefully in a positive manner. For myself, for Scotty, for DSM Media, don't forget to check us out at DSM_media. Have a great rest of your night, and go Sixers.
Go Sixers.